Hi. The Buddha is sometimes described as a doctor. As a doctor. Or as like a doctor. He was sometimes called the great physician, and it's because he saw suffering. He saw the suffering we experience in our lives, and he viewed that as a disease, as an ailment that needs to be treated. An ailment that needs to be treated. He believed there was a potential for a treatment for the pain that's part of human life. So, he came up with the Four Noble Truths as like a medical diagnosis. The Four Noble Truths are: 1, life is bitter and painful and hard. 2, craving is the cause of a lot of the difficulty in life. 3, there's a treatment for this. And 4, the treatment is the Eightfold Path. So he's like a doctor, seeing the problem, diagnosing the cause of the problem, and giving us a treatment. First, we have to recognize that we have a problem. Life is really challenging. Then we need a diagnosis. And then we need to understand that it's treatable. And then we need a treatment plan. We suffer because we see the world through a lens that I call I, me, mine. And because we aren't present in our experience. So we're always being selfish, judging everything, putting labels on everything, bringing our neuroses and our emotional baggage into every experience. So we're not really seeing the world as it is. We're seeing it through the lens of our baggage. I like to think of those old-timey 3D glasses, the red on one eye and blue on the other, and you put them on and the world looks messed up. We're sort of seeing the world through a filter like that. And that is what I call I, me, mine. It's our bringing ourself into every situation and judging everything, measuring everything against ourselves, and sort of trying to make enemies out of the world all the time. That's sort of a thing we do. We can't solve our issue through the lens of this I, me, mine. We have to dig a little deeper. We have to turn the light inward and put aside our baggage and neuroses, at least for a little bit. And the Eightfold Path gives us some pretty clear guidelines for dealing with our craving and suffering. The first is wise view, and that's learning how to put down our baggage and see the world as it really is. Learning how to see clearly, because seeing clearly is very important. And when we're not seeing clearly, then it's hard for us to make the best decisions. And second is wise thought. We should learn how to become aware of our motivations, how to understand why we do the things we do, because a lot of time we're just on autopilot. We're not thinking about why we do what we do. We're not giving that much attention to our motivations, and we need to. So that's what wise thought is about: thinking and learning about why we do the things we do, carefully investigating ourselves and our thoughts. And next is wise speech. We want to stop doing things like gossiping, exaggerating, lying, or even lies by omission where you leave out information on purpose, or bragging. All these things, we may not think these are serious, but we can cause a whole lot of harm with our words. So we want to be very, very, very careful. And we want to instead speak words that bring comfort and encouragement and kindness. These things are important, and that is wise speech. Wise action is learning how to live a virtuous life so that we're not making enemies out of everything all the time. This is really, it's about promoting harmony between ourselves and the world around us. It's not like a moralistic, like a top-down obey, but it's like trying to create harmony with the world around us, because creating harmony with the world around us is helpful to us and is helpful to everyone, right? So wise action is often expressed in teachings like the precepts, and I'm going to my very simple explanation of the precepts are: be nonviolent, be truthful, don't steal, have honest relationships, and don't intoxicate your mind. We want to think clearly. The next one is wise livelihood, and that is we should strive to make a living in a way that is honest and honorable. If we are sort of robbing people all the time with our job, or killing people or something, that creates disharmony in the same way that, you know, those wise action things do. It creates disharmony if you are directly doing harm in your profession. That's not to say that we all have to be yoga instructors and librarians, but it is to say that if you can directly see how your career is causing harm, the least you can do is figure out how to lessen that harm. In the Buddha's time, when he came up with this, people were doing things like selling slaves, and that's what he was really concerned with, people that were selling slaves and selling weapons that were used to kill other people, right? That sort of thing. Those things are not considered right livelihood. Wise effort is that we should stop bad habits and try to develop good ones. Stop bad habits and try to develop good ones. So we're talking about the things we do over and over and over and over. So if you have a habit of eating unhealthy food, right? Try to develop a good habit of adding more vegetables to your diet, that sort of thing. Because it's similar to wise action, except it's the things that we do habitually. It's the things we naturally do in a regular day. We want to try to make those better. And wise effort also applies to our diligence. That is, we need to practice, try with all these other things. We need to bring a lot of motivation to it, because it's very easy to slip back into mindlessness and to not cultivate these things. It's very easy to stop, and we want to not stop. So wise effort is about that. Wise mindfulness is we want to learn how to be present with what's happening. So a lot of the time in life, we're not present with what's happening. We're indulging in our imagination, or we're thinking about what we're doing later, or we're thinking about what happened to us yesterday, or we're thinking about all sorts of things. There are all sorts of ways that we find to not be present in what's happening right now. And wise mindfulness is about learning to bring our attention to what's happening now. If you've ever had the experience where you're having a conversation with someone and you realize you're not listening, you're just waiting to talk, that's sort of unmindful communication. You're not present, you're thinking about what you're going to say. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. But it also applies, I think this is very important, to distracted driving. If you're driving your car and you're not present in what you're doing, that's really dangerous. And that's something I think we all do sometimes, is we daydream while we're driving, and then we arrive at our destination, we think, oh, that was fast. I don't remember some of that trip, right? Creepy and scary, because of how dangerous cars are, of course. So right mindfulness is just, okay, I need to be fully present in this situation. How am I going to do that? Learning how to be fully present, especially when we want to. Especially when we want to, or we feel like we need to, right? And then last is wise meditation. And this is, I don't want to say any of these are more important than the other ones, but it seems like the hardest one to cultivate and the hardest one to talk about. But it is learning how to cultivate a mind that does not move. This is where we train in wisdom. It's where we learn how to see our connection to the world around us, the world and our place in it. It's when we learn how to step away from our small self, our I, me mind, and just come to our true self, which is good and awakened. That is wise meditation. So whereas we'll train in wise mindfulness with practices like following the breath, we're going to train in wise meditation with more challenging practices like silent illumination or keeping a question. Those kinds of practices are where we train in wise meditation. And I'll make a video at a later time to talk about different meditation practices. But that was just, I wanted to give an overview of Buddhism as the Buddha's diagnosis, and how we can try to treat ourselves and improve our lives and the lives of the people around us. So I hope this talk has been helpful. Please tell me what you think. Thank you.